Every business rule you've ever been taught says keep more, cut more, reinvest everything back into growth. But the people quietly winning the most money, and the most meaning are doing the opposite. They're giving time and money away on purpose. It sounds like a loss on a spreadsheet, but it's actually the dollar that compounds the hardest. Today I'll show you why and teach you how to build a business around it. I'm Kim, and this is my brother Garrett, and this is a Prime Grit mission.
So I want to start with the story.
Okay.
It is about Dr. Govindappa Ventakaswamy. It goes by Dr. V.
For kindness to everybody.
But Dr. V was an eye surgeon, and he had to retire at age 58. They had a mandatory retirement. So he retires, he goes home, and starts living the retired life. But he actually starts realizing and noticing around him that all these people are going blind from cataracts, which cataracts is a very curable disease. In fact, it just takes a little surgery, and it's the exact same surgery that Dr. V was doing in his career.
Convenient.
Yeah. And so he thinks, well, why are they going blind if we already have the cure? Like that shouldn't be happening, you know? So he called it needless blindness. But he said it felt unacceptable. But what he found out was it wasn't that they didn't know there was a cure or they didn't have the technology. It's just that they couldn't afford it. The cost for the surgery was too much. And so he decided he is going to do something about it. He is going to step in and actually make a change. So he actually decided that he's going to start a business. And he talks very clearly about why he chose a business. He said he didn't want to do a charity because he didn't want to have to try and rely on donations from other people, that you just couldn't predict when it would come, when it wouldn't. He didn't think he'd be able to grow big enough just off donations. He didn't want to have like a government program or an NGO because he said government funding is great for 4 years and then terrible for 4 years because they switch who's in power, they change their budget, whatever, right? And I said 4 years, but it's really year to year. Yeah. But he didn't want that. Didn't want to deal with the red tape. And he also didn't feel like it would be sustainable or scalable. So he says, I'm going to do a business. So he creates a business. He calls it Aravind, and he starts in his own house. And what he does is he puts 11 beds just in a row. And when he was coming up with this idea, he said, we want to be the McDonald's of eye surgery. Which is not
a sentence you never thought you'd hear.
But he did it because he said, if McDonald's can do billions of hamburgers at the same quality and speed, why can't we do the exact same thing with these cataract surgeries, right? And the reason he's thinking this way is because he's not thinking about, hey, can I help that one person? He's trying to help everybody. He's trying to solve the problem. So he needs to scale, right? He needs to get big. And so business is what he chose. So he started with just 11 beds, and they had this system where the doctors would just literally like walk down the beds doing the things that they needed to do, kind of like an assembly line, but they would just move on down. And they did it so efficiently that they actually were able to, so in his little first office that they opened, right? Started in his house, it started to grow. And once they first really got going, they were able to do 2,000 eye surgeries in a year.
Wow.
When the hospital that he was at before he retired did 200 a year. So I mean, that was crazy. 10 times faster. And what they were doing is they were actually giving it away for free to anybody that needed it, right? And then the people that could afford it, they actually just paid for it. And the cool thing about what Dr. V did too is because he was so passionate about solving the problem, it was never about how do I make the most money? How do I make this the easiest? How do I, do all these other things? He was focusing on solving the problem, his purpose. And so he started looking at other things that were slowing him down. He realized that the lenses that they were getting to help for these surgeries they were costing them $200 or $100. It cost him $100 to buy them overseas. So he decided, well, I'm just going to build a manufacturing plant. We'll make our own lenses. We'll ship them to other people, but then we'll get them for ourselves for $2. Whoa. So it just saved a ton of money, right? And he kept doing these types of things. He found that people didn't have good medical records. And so he built a software that would actually track the medical records of these people in the port, that where you could access them quickly and they would stay with that person, right? He kept seeing these problems and solving it so that he could actually reach the end and fix his purpose and stop needless blindness. I always want to say needless blindness, but there's too many nesses in there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, you didn't tell how he made money.
Oh yeah. So anyone that couldn't afford it, they just got their stuff for free, right? They got it for free and they were in and out quick, right? And they had their own recovery, their whole process. And in that process, they had a lower infection rate than even the United States and the UK, right? Like they're top of the line. Aravind grew to become the biggest, they are the biggest eye care company in the world. But then the people that could afford it, they just paid a standard price. So, and then here's the cool thing. Okay, I'm going to talk about the numbers. Okay, Kim, because I love numbers.
We'll allow it.
So they're giving about 2/3 away. About 2/3 of the people that they serve got their stuff for free. So they didn't even pay. And then 1 out of every 3 actually paid, and they just paid kind of the regular price. But because they were so efficient at what they did, and they had built down all their costs so well, that they were actually making about a 30% margin, and one person was covering 2 other people, plus they're making 30%. So Aravind became a $1 billion company. But that's not all. Aerolab, his manufacturing company, became a $1 billion company by just shipping these lenses everywhere else in the world, right? Everything he was doing was growing and scaling because they had a purpose behind it, right? And because they used business how it's meant to be used to solve problems, they were blowing up, right? And just so people understand, in the United States, a luxury hospital has about a 10% margin, right? He is having 1 out of every 3 people pay and is still making a 30% margin.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like he is outperforming all of the hospitals and all the technology, all the things that we already have. He's doing it way better, way faster, with lower infection rates, and giving it away to 66% of the people for free.
That's incredible. We love Dr. V.
Yeah, it's powerful because he had a purpose and he started doing something that could actually scale and grow and solve the problem. And he's doing it in a way where they don't have to spend any money on marketing, right? They actually just have people on their team that go out and they just tell people like, hey, you have cataracts, you come to us, it's free. Well, these people that are getting their eyesight back, what do you think they do?
Tell everybody.
They tell everybody. Yeah, they go out and tell everybody. So they didn't need to do any marketing, right? Their actual work, their actual purpose did the marketing for them in a way that is so much better than any regular company can do. A regular company that says, hey, we'll give you a referral fee or a percentage off or anything like that, that cannot compare to somebody who says, hey, I can see again, go do this, right? That's the power of what a purpose can do for your company.
Even saying like, I paid, but 2 other people can now see, and I can see.
Well, that's the thing, is the people that could afford it, they wanted to go to Aravind.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you had the choice to say, I can go someplace and they're going to do it faster, they're going to do it better, and then when I do it, it's going to bless 2 other people that would otherwise be blind, or, hold on, I can go someplace else, pay the same amount, do it slower and less good, and it helps nobody.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, what are you going to pick, right? Like Aravind became the only choice. That's why they became the biggest eye care company in the world with, I don't know how many thousands and tens of thousands of employees, but they have over hundreds of eye care facilities now, not to mention their manufacturing plants and their software stuff, right? And he did other things too, but it just kept growing and growing and growing because he found a purpose and went for it. And then the purpose literally became the competitive advantage that nobody could compete with.
Literally.
The only way to compete with him, honestly, would have been to join him.
Yeah.
Or do exactly the same thing he's doing, right? But at that point, you're so far behind, it's never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
His purpose was a competitive advantage that could not be taken away, could not be bought, just lasted forever, right? It's still going on. I mean, that's how powerful a purpose can be in a business.
And that's the lesson is copy McDonald's.
Copy McDonald's. Yeah.
Just kidding. That's the power of a purpose. And we have a word for this type of business. We call it, in Primevert, we call it a super business. And I'm going to read just our definition of that for you. It is a for-profit business that runs to forever fix a real-world problem with their income. They operate with a specific purpose in mind, which purpose is to help someone else. And then their purpose, they have a purpose and accumulate massive wealth to be able to address the purpose faster.
Yeah, it's a business that has the goal to serve other people, right? Mm-hmm. And when you have that, a business becomes almost your only option, right? And here's why. So we talked a little bit about Dr. V kind of making his choice to be a business, right? You couldn't have done charity, right? And there's nothing wrong with charities. Charities are great people, right? But they have a lot of red tape. Right? They have a lot of restrictions on how they get money, how they handle money, and what they do with it. They also have donors that they want to see 100% of the money that they give go to the cause. And when that's the case, what happens to the charity? Well, they can't even keep 1 cent. So how are they paying their salaries? How are they keeping their lights on? How are they doing all of these other things?
Yeah, it sounds good in theory, but it is not.
Well, for the donor, the donor says like, yeah, I'm giving money and it's going to the cause, right? That sounds good to them. But what happens to the charity is they end up having to take shortcuts to get more donors to want to do them, right? So they try and measure things in the smallest thing as possible. So they'll say, instead of saying, we are stopping the water problem and we're doing it in a sustainable way, they're saying, I gave away 1 million water bottles. And that gave 1 million people water. It's like, while that's true and while that's good, right? I'm not trying to say it's bad. It solves an immediate need. It's a Band-Aid. It's curing the symptom as opposed to the actual cause.
It's not the forever fix.
Yeah, and it's not charity's fault, right? That's just the donor mentality, right? And it's the reality of it is, like, no one wants to say, I gave you $1,000 and only 150 went to the people that I'm really trying to help. But guess what happens if you actually did that? That charity would grow, they would scale, they would build out infrastructure. They'd be able to say, hey, we're not giving away water bottles. We're building wells. We're building schools to teach people how to get their own wells, how to maintain them, how to get water into people's houses, how to handle water when it comes, how to clean it. Like, it teaches people to do all these things, and then they can solve the problem and have it themselves, right? But instead, because they have the donor mentality, they can't do that, right? If someone said only 15 cents of the dollars go to the people, there'd be outrage. They would not get a single donation. Yeah. You know? And I'm not trying to advocate for a bloated overhead and 1 million management positions, right? Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you need to function lean and smart, but you have to actually build a fix that's going to solve it forever, not just a Band-Aid. And part of the problem that charities have is they are donor dependent and they need to make people feel good in order to get more money, right? So it raises this sustainability problem. It also raises a scalability problem, right? You don't hear about charities that just blow up and have these giant growth curves, right? It just doesn't happen. What you really have is millions of charities out there trying to solve one problem, working independently, and none of them are forever fixes. Yeah. Right? The next thing that Dr. V decided he didn't want to do was government, right? Government, similar, like we think, well, the government literally is spending billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars for a whole bunch of charity cases, right? Yeah. Charity purposes, I don't know what you call it, but on charities. But it's not actually solving anything. In fact, there's people that are just getting rich from saying they're helping a charity that's not really solving it, right? Yeah. They even have, systems and words that describe the inefficiency in the government to actually solve a problem, right? Usually when they spend money on something, it actually increases the problem because now it becomes a source of getting money as opposed to solving a problem. Interesting. And they also deal with red tape, like crazy red tape. And then it's also inconsistent. You don't know if the new budget's going to include it or not include it. Are you going to get cut? Are you going to file a paperwork wrong and then you're done? They won't give you money. Like there's a lot of things like that that make it hard to work with the government, right? The last one is an individual. Dr. V did not say, I'm a surgeon, I'm going to do this, and just say, I'm going to help one at a time. Yeah. Right? While that's admirable as well, and you need to be that kind of person, he said, it's not about me. It's not about me feeling good trying to help the one, right? He said, I'm going to solve the problem for them. And I love there's a story of the two guys walking along the beach, right? And there's millions of these starfish, and the one guy picks them up, throws it in. He's like, you'll never make a difference. And he says, well, it does to this one. And he throws it back in, right? That person is amazing, right? But what Dr. V said is, I'm a businessman, right?
Yeah.
I solve problems at scale. So he said, I'm going to go get a tractor. I'm going to hire a bunch of employees. I'm going to build a conveyor belt. Like, we're going to take all these starfish and we're going to get them back into the ocean, and all of them, right? He wasn't thinking small and like, I'm just going to do this to feel good, or I'm going to help the one, right? He's like, I'm going to help the one 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the difference between what a business can do versus what an individual can do. And that's when you look at all those things and you start putting in the fact that he has a higher purpose behind what he's doing with his business. That's part of what makes it a super business.
Yeah, it's so incredible because there are so many. I do want to just give a little shout out because we love charities. We love the heart of the people there. It's just the tool that was built to run it is not able to solve it. Same thing, we love the heart of that individual that wants to help, but we're talking about the very specific thing that is required for something to be called a super business to us is that it focuses on a forever fix. It has to be actually forever, not addressing the symptoms or not able to actually ever overcome the problem. And so that is the true definition, is it has to be focused on a forever fix. And that's why Dr. V was so ingenious and so amazing, because he had the heart, but he had the right tool to accomplish it.
Yeah, which was a business.
Yep.
Right. And when you actually look at it that way, as like, hey, business is the tool, it opens everything else up, right? And you can recognize, okay, this is actually really powerful in what it can do. And the main things that a business does that a charity, a government, and an individual can't do, it comes down to you can scale, so you can grow fast, and then you're sustainable, right? Businesses become unicorns every day. Businesses have lasted for centuries. The business, that started 100 years ago is still going today. Like, that happens. That does not happen with a lot of other organizations, and never as much or as consistent or as fast as a business is, right? So that's part of the power of a business. Now, what you said about charities, like, we actually advocate for what we call a dual entity model, right? There is major advantages for having a charity, but when your business is set up to actually fund that charity itself, your problems are solved, right? And you're actually just getting a tax break. And the same thing, we don't say like, hey, just pretend government doesn't exist. Like, if you can have a government grant or something to go with it, great. But you just don't need it, right? Airvine never had to take it. They never had to be beholden to someone else's money. They never had to worry about all these other things because their business grew and was sustainable and was scalable. And to some people, they say like, well, yeah, he was a surgeon and he built this really cool, efficient thing and he could do this stuff that I can't do. Yes, you can. Right? And that's literally what Prime Grit is built for, is to show you and help you do that in a system that can sustain itself and grow.
The key behind all of this is that he had a purpose in mind. Like he said, I will not let people suffer from needless blindness. I do want to say blindness.
You want to say this, blindness.
I don't know. People that are needlessly blind.
There you go.
He said he wouldn't stand for it. Like, this wasn't going to exist. That was his goal. And so everything he did was with the purpose. And that's what a super business is. It has to have a purpose. And that's the difference between just a regular business and a super business, is that a super business operates with a specific purpose in mind. And everything they do is to help that group of people or help that cause or help that thing. And so instead of just being motivated by money, they now want to get more money to help the people. That motivation can last and can motivate all your employees, can do so much. And we actually want to talk about some incredible stats about purpose-driven businesses.
Yeah, before you pull those up, I wanted to say too, you made me think about this. Like, Dr. V worked for, 30 plus years until he retired, actually solving the same problem he did when he quit and started Aravind. But he didn't have like the growth or the backing or like even it felt like the drive. Like
the fire inside.
Yeah, like he's like he was living his purpose, but because he was doing it in somebody else's machine, in somebody else's empire, just getting paid by the hour or whatever, and maybe he was getting paid by the surgery, I don't know, salary, whatever. But it just didn't really hit him. And then when he actually retired and was done working for this hospital, then he saw the problem in its entirety, not just who he was working with every day, which was already people that were going blind, right? They were just able to get it. When he actually saw the problem in its entirety, then it hit his heart. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, okay, I know how to solve this, and I'm going to do it. Right? Then he's like, okay, this is my purpose. Like, I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm retired, I'm done. They could go to the hospital. It's their own fault for being poor, or the hospital should make this cheaper. He didn't just point the fingers or look around. He just said, he stepped up and said, I'm going to do it. And he's just one guy that started in his own house and made his wife and brothers and sisters be like nurses. And they were not. You know what I mean? They were not trained that way.
I want to say they like took out a second mortgage on their house or something to try to fund everything.
Yeah, they did do something. They got they put their house up as leverage at a minimum, I think.
Yeah.
But, you know, he had that drive. He found that purpose. And that's what changed everything. And it's interesting that he was probably at this big hospital, you know, that probably felt bigger than him. And he probably felt like just a small cog in this giant machine. But then he goes from that to just doing it in his own home to literally the world's biggest eye surgery company and $1 billion company. And he started from his own house after walking away what probably felt like a big system, right? It's like I think so many people are like that. We live our life on autopilot, working for somebody else and ignoring the root cause of things, thinking that this is what we're supposed to do. We're being responsible, and we're making the safe choice, and we're doing all these things to help our own family to grow all these other things, right? But what we're really doing is ignoring what you're born to do. Mm-hmm. And you're also discounting how much you're actually capable of. And when you finally are willing to see what you can do, see the problem in the entirety and step up and say, I'll take it, that's where the magic happens. That's when you can create your own version of what Aravind was for Dr. V, right? That's the thing that you can do if you're just willing to accept your purpose and go for it. But if you're just going to sit back and be comfortable, you will probably never realize your full potential.
And that's why we talk about purpose so much, is because we want people to find their purpose, and then you're willing to take risks, change, try to better yourself, figure things out, solve a real problem, because that drive comes in you. And then now, as you learn as well that this business is the best tool, you now have everything you need. You have your purpose and you have the best tool to fulfill your purpose, and you can fly.
And people like to say, oh, well, that just sounds really nice, and that makes me feel good, right? Mm-hmm. Purpose is so much more than just a feel-good thing. You know, when people kind of ask me like, hey, you know, what do you do? And I'll tell them like, well, I do like business consulting, but we do it to help people find their purpose and for, you know, find a cause that's bigger than them and use their business to help with that. And like, oh, that feels great. You know, that's a really good like social business thing. And I want to just be like, no, it's not that. Mm-hmm. It's so much more than that. It's just like, yeah, you should feel good. There's meaning behind your work, and that's actually matters, right? That's not nothing. I don't want to discount it as just like, socially aware business, right? It's not that. It's meaning in your work. And then second, there's actual real stats that prove, and this is what we're going to, it's more beneficial for the company monetarily, and not even just a little bit. It's like insane how much, right? So I'm going to start with my favorite stat.
Always starting with the favorite.
Okay, so this was this one done by, I think it was Firms of Endearment. Kim has the stat sheet pulled up. I'll tell it and you can say who did the study. But they did a study and they found that purpose-driven companies outperformed the S&P 500 by 1,563%. That's not just a little bit. They like blew the S&P 500 out of the water. Like it wasn't even close because they were purpose-driven.
It's 1,681%.
Well, that's how much they grew. And then the S&P 500 grew by, I think it was like 117%.
118%.
118%,
It
right.
is Firms of Endearment.
Yeah, see, there you go. But even that, so think about that, 118%, and you're like, man, that's a really good return, right? That's the S&P 500. I think it's over 15 years they did the study, right? So that's really good return. It is, what is that, over 15 years, like, 9% a year, pretty good. But guess what the return in on the purpose business one is at 1683? It's over 100. It's like 112% every single year. It's not a little bit that they outperformed the S&P 500.
Yeah.
Over 1,500% better. That's 15 times better. When you start compounding that kind of interest in something, right? You don't just end with 1 to 15. You end with like 1 to 89. Anyway, mind-blowing stat. I'm nerding out too much. Go to the next one. Because these are all real stats, real studies by legitimate big companies proving that purpose is better.
One of my favorite, and this goes with Dr. V, we talked about how he didn't have to market. He has never paid for marketing because people always are talking about it, just word of mouth.
All they did was go out and tell people.
They told initially.
Well, they just said, come get free cataracts. Like they would literally say, just come get them, right? If they found or heard somebody, they just go send somebody, or they go to a new town and be like, free cataract surgery. You don't need to go blind. And then all the people would just go out and talk about it after that. I've told you this before, but Maddie, my wife, got LASIK, right? She got really sick of sticking those things in her eyes.
Contacts.
Thank you. Why can't I think of that? Contacts, glasses, all of it. She got her surgery for LASIK. And then, the first week your eyes are kind of dry and it's kind of rough, but like literally by probably about 1 week after, she woke up in the morning and just cried. Because she's like, I don't have to put on glasses. I can see so clearly. This is amazing, right? And so she goes and tells everybody, all of our friends that have glasses or wear contacts, she tells them, you got to get LASIK, right? And that's just her having this experience of seeing slightly better, really seeing the same without glasses.
Yeah.
What would happen if she was blind? And by telling these other people, she's stopping other people from going blind.
Yeah.
Think about the power behind that. Just that referral. Like Maddie is not just a positive review. She is literally an ambassador for LASIK.
Yeah.
Right? Because it changed her life. And I just look at what Dr. V has. And when you have that behind your business, that purpose behind your business, all of your customers become ambassadors and it just spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Now give them the stat.
It is. There's 3 times more organic word of mouth spreading just from having a purpose. Like doing nothing else. If you did nothing else better in your business, you'd have 300% more referrals coming in because you have a purpose.
Well, it's not referrals. It's literally like them telling other people all about it.
Yeah.
And then the referral stats was 450%.
Yep.
Right? They got 450% more referrals for having a purpose than a regular company does. Like that's an insane number.
And they're 400% more likely to buy.
Yeah. So
you're doing all these math.
You start compounding these things and it's like, well, yeah, no wonder they're outperforming the S&P 500 by 1,563%.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps going. And then here's the other thing, that purpose is proven again to be more than just a feel-good stat or a feel-good whatever. Employees that are purpose-driven outperform satisfied employees by 225%. Think about that. For every one satisfied employee you have, for every one purpose-driven employee that you have, that's 2.25 employees that you need, right? So if you only had to hire, way less than half, like the amount that you can get done with that is mind-blowing, right? And here's the other kicker. Only 80% of workers are disengaged at their job. And of them, 60% say their work is soul crushing, right? So they're not even satisfied. They're dissatisfied, which they're performing around like 60%. So when you compare what 80% of the workforce is doing at 60% of what a satisfied does, the baseline, and then you compare that to a purpose-driven employee at 225%, well, that's almost 4 times better.
Yeah.
Right? So it compounds on itself too over time. Like every year as a purpose-driven company, you are doing 10, 15 times better than what just a normal for-profit business does, right? That's that contradiction that you talked about in the beginning, where people are always thinking that you got to cut costs, you got to reinvest everything. You got to keep more, get better margins, right?
Yeah.
They're not thinking, hey, if I actually just add purpose and actually just start helping people, this is actually going to come back to me and be so much better.
Yeah, if I give money away, then I'm going to make more money. It's not
what you think, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even that you give money away, right? It's that you actually are building an engine designed to serve other people. Like that change in your mind, it unlocks something in people. It unlocks something in your business that no marketing campaign, no sales team can match. In fact, they can't even come close.
And your employees, like, they're so much more productive. They're engaged. They're more innovative. They make less mistakes. And we have stats for all of those, but it's because
we have to say the
happy.
Stats, Kim. You know I love the numbers.
Okay. They're 5.6 more times more likely to be engaged at work. They're 30% more innovative, and they're 54% more likely to stay with your company for 5+ years. So your turnover rate is basically nil, right? It's so much less, and 32% fewer mistakes.
So here's the thing that I think is cool about Dr. V's thing. So Dr. V worked his entire career until he retired doing eye surgery. No purpose, right? He wasn't purpose driven. He does the exact same thing when he retires on his own, right? He owns it. And I think that matters.
Yeah.
He decides he's going to own it. He owns his purpose. All of a sudden, well, I got to become the McDonald's of eye surgery, right? So what does he do? He starts innovating. Like we says 30% more innovative. It might only be that first 1% that decides I could be like McDonald's. The next 1% says, well, I can find a cheaper pipeline. I'll just build my own manufacturing plant. And then he says, well, I need to sell, like, you know what I mean? Like 30% more innovative might be the 3 or 4 extra ideas that make your company explode, right? Like that's the difference. I mean, and that 30% is one of the smaller numbers we talked about.
Yeah.
But like that little bit is huge. And as soon as he found his purpose, that innovation kicked in. That's why he didn't just build another hospital like he was already doing and saying like, well, this is how it's done, guys. Like, I want to help, but I know how it's done. This is how the hospital does it. This is how we're going to do it. He said, no, I don't care how it's been done. I don't care the standard path. I'm about solving this problem, and the innovation kicks in. He found a new path, a better path. He's the world's biggest eye care center. Think about that.
And you got to think too that these employees that find their work soul-sucking probably are not innovating at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because why? They don't care. They're not invested. There's nothing in it for them that, you know, they don't feel good. They're not invested in what you offer, probably, the product they're selling or whatever it is. And then when you have a purpose, everybody can get behind it. You know, and everyone's like, yeah, I do want to solve that world problem. And we can. Let's do this.
And so think about this too. So these stats we've been talking about, these are just purpose-driven companies, right? When we talk about what a super business is, we're talking about the next level of that.
Yeah.
We're not like a lot of these companies, what they do is they have a purpose behind them. And they're saying like 10% of every sale goes to this, or buy this, we donate that, right? Their purpose is intertwined with their company, right? But what we're talking about is a step beyond. Like it exists for this purpose, but not only that, it's not just we give money, right? And it's not just we provide water. It's saying we're going to find a real fix forever, and we are going to make it happen, right? It's not Dr. V saying, I'm just going to perform a bunch of surgeries for paying customers, and then I'm going to give some of that money away. He's saying, I'm just going to do surgeries for free, for as many people as I can. And if you can afford to pay, you pay.
Yeah.
And that's it. And not only that, he doesn't even make the people who can't afford to pay the full amount. They pay what they can.
Yeah.
And he has like, here's the price, here's what it should cost. But a lot of them are like, well, I can afford some, I can't quite afford that. I really want to happen. I don't want to be free because I want to help other people, right? So they give some. And even still with that, they're more profitable than the luxury hospitals of the United States.
Yeah.
And it's mind-blowing to me, right? It's such the contradiction, but this isn't like a unique example, right? We have hundreds of these stories that we could tell, and we will, because I love them. But what we're talking about with a super business is a step beyond just we're gonna just give away some money, right? We're saying it is the reason that you exist, and you're gonna be the source of it. We're saying you're gonna find a forever fix. You're not gonna just donate the money to someone else and hope that it goes the right way. right? But you're going to actually solve it forever, right? So I was working with a client the other day who said they wanted to, I mean, there's a couple things he said, but one, he wanted to give 100% of his profit away, and he wanted to give it to clean water, right? That's what he was thinking. And he had done some research, and he found like what he thought was the best charity to give the money to. And he was really proud of the fact that he's like, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not doing it for the fame. Like but I want to give all the money away. So like I will work just to solve this problem. Like he's bought in, and he's amazing, right? And it's just a great person. Love him to death. But when I started talking to him, I was like, look, if you just give away 100% of your profits, you will never become big enough to solve this problem. Yeah. Right? Because you can't now scale, you can't grow, right? You become one person doing one surgery a day or one at a time, and you don't give back eyesight to tens of millions of people, like Dr. V did, right? So, I mean, that's part of it. Like, you actually need to grow and scale and sustain it, and that's what you were talking about a little bit before you hinted at. The money becomes the fuel to actually grow that, right? And when it's truly that's your purpose, it becomes amazing. But if you try and cheat it and be like, yeah, this is my purpose, but I'm really still into it for the money on the other hand, it's not going to work. Yeah. Your employees will know, the customers will know, you'll know. And you're just not going to have that same drive. You're not going to get the power behind it, right? But the other thing he said is he wanted to just give the money to a charity. And I had to tell him, like, you can't, if you want to have a forever fix, you need to understand what is the root cause of the problem and how are you actually going to solve it, right? So we went through the 5 whys, essentially. I say 5, but sometimes it takes way more. Yeah. But I was like, if you want to solve the water problem, you need to figure out exactly what's going on with it. If you just give money to a charity, they might just be donating water bottles, right? What most charities do is they dig wells. But if you actually look at what the problem is wells, within like 2 years, about 90% of them have collapsed or broken down. Yeah. And the people there don't have a real way to fix it, right? There's not an infrastructure to actually maintain the well that they were given, right? They also don't feel a sense of ownership. So a well collapses, they just go back to what they were doing before, which worked, but was terrible. Yeah. Right? Got people sick, but you got to drink, you know? But if you actually start saying, okay, I'm going to build a sustainable business and I'm going to make it grow as fast as I can. In fact, you almost feel obligated to make it grow as fast as it can, get as much money as you can, so that you can then have a forever fix where you're going to say, we're going to start a school that's going to teach people how to drill for water, how to clean that water. Then we're going to teach them how to build the infrastructure that will actually get water to people's houses. Then we're going to teach people to run a business off of that so that if anything ever breaks down, they are incentivized to get it fixed as fast as they can and get that water flowing because they're making money, right? And there's so many things like that where you can incentivize people the right way. You can follow the money, if you will, so that it is actually solving the problem at its core, right? And here's the thing. It's not that complicated, right? Like the cataract surgery that Dr. V did, that surgery had existed for years. Yeah. It was being done all the time, but yet there's still people going blind. The solution wasn't that complicated either. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's just, hey, here's a better version of what the hospital could do if it actually cared. And oh, by the way, if they did actually care, they also make way more money. Yeah. Dr. V's a billionaire because of it, you know? And it's the same thing, like solving the water problem's not that complicated, you know? It already exists and it functions in most of the world. But there's still, I think you know what it is. It's 700 million people that 703 million people that don't have clean water, right? That's not a solution problem. It's the infrastructure built around it. And then so we have 1 million charities and 1 million governments that are all invested in doing this, but they're not getting a forever fix because they like to pass down the money and hope it solves it.
And for how long and again, we don't want to offend anybody, but for how long like charities have existed to solve that problem or governments trying to address it, it really hasn't been solved. And so that's why it's so important to have your purpose be the source of the good. That's what we're talking about, is even if you want to work with a charity, which is fine, like that dual entity we talked about, but you got to know that they are asking the 5 whys. They're getting the root to the root of the problem and actually trying to do the forever fix. And if they're not, then you just need to figure out what it is and be the source of the good so that it's actually addressed.
Yep. And so that kind of brings us back to what a super business actually is, right? So to be a super business, not even just a purpose-driven business, but the next step above, a super business, you need to have your purpose, obviously, right? And you need to have a system that is both sustainable and scalable, right? And we talk in depth and give a lot of business advice on how to actually do that. And by the way, there's never been a better time to do it because of AI. Like one individual can make a bigger difference than a company 100 times its size, right? If they actually start living the super business way.
Yeah.
But the other thing you have to have is you have to actually be the source of the good, right? You have to be involved in it. You can't just pass on the money. Now, I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't work with other charities or work with other organizations. You absolutely should work with these other organizations, right? Together, you're much better, much stronger. You should work with a charity. But if you just give money to them, you detach yourself from the solution. And you also detach yourself from your purpose. And that won't work. But if you talk to that charity and you say, okay, you guys are already in. You already have a foot in the door. You're already doing some of this stuff. What I think you're doing is actually helping the root cause. Like my goal now is to work with you to fix any holes that you might have, to make it a true forever fix, which actually solves a problem forever, right? That's the whole point of a forever fix.
Imagine that.
It solves it forever. Now I want to work with you, okay? And I want to start building in with you. And I want to get my team involved with you. I want us talking and communicating. I want us to actually feel, know, and care. And just like you do with a business, you start building feedback loops. Like, hey, we're trying this. Is it working? Is it not? What is working better, right? And then all of a sudden, it becomes so much less about, I just have to get a donation. I have to get this money to them. And it becomes, I'm just solving the problem one brick at a time, right? And I am building the thing that will solve it forever. And when you actually do that, that's 703 million people without clean water. It just starts going down and down and down and down until it hits that cliff and it's solved. But as it is right now, I think it's going up.
I don't know.
Well, I just think because the fertility rates they're having so many more kids.
Maybe.
Yeah. I didn't fact check that, so whoops. But anyway, my whole point is if you, a super business has to have those things, right? So we call, there's two engines that a super business has to have. We call it the source of value. That is the service or the product.
Whatever your business does to make money.
Right. But you're providing value to a customer who pays you. Right. That's the value that you provide. And so you have to be the source of value. And then the other one is you have to be the source of the good.
And it's actually really important to us in the Prime Grit way of doing a super business that when you offer your source of value actually is something that solves a problem or betters the world or helps people for real, because there are things you can use for your source of value that really do less good than...
Well, if it's not valuable to people, they won't pay for it and it can't scale. And even if you could scale it quick, it won't be sustainable because there's not real value, right? So it has to actually have value. And you need to be the source of that value and you need to be the source of that good. And what we mean by the source is like you're actually there involved in that. And even if you're giving water, you know, like we've been using this example of a lot, but it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're helping orphans in another country, you don't necessarily have to have your entire team fly out to build an orphanage, right? But you need to be intimately involved in those decisions, in making it happen, in who you're working with, and this is most important, in finding and fulfilling the forever fix.
Yeah.
Right? Finding and fulfilling the forever fix. That's a lot of F's. That kind of got a nice little ring to it.
Finding and fulfilling the forever fix.
But you really need to you have to be the source of that, right? Otherwise, your company is not actually a super business. It's not a purpose. It is still a purpose-driven company, but it's not reaching all the way, right? And what we need is people that will take ownership of it, like Dr. V did, right? They're going to take ownership and they'll scale. They'll integrate vertically to solve other patches. And then they have the infrastructure and the weight behind it to solve it forever, right? And right now, and you know, we've said this a lot already, but I'm going to reiterate it one more time. Work with as many people as you can, as many charities as you can. Work with the government if you can. Work with other companies if you can, right? We call it a coalition, but build a coalition, start a movement, and actually connect some of these people that really want to solve the problem. Like I said, there's a million charities out there, but they're all working independently in their own way that may or may not be a forever fix. And if you find a forever fix and start bringing them all together, your reach just compounds, right? So absolutely work with them, but make sure that you are the source of it so that you can for sure know it is a forever fix and that you are chipping away at whatever that problem is. And the more that you do it and the bigger you scale, the faster that happens.
It's so exciting to talk about this concept because the more people, like we talked about last time, that anyone pretty much at this point can do this because of AI. You can start a business and fulfill it really quickly right now and scale immensely fast, way faster than you've ever been able to before. But as people adopt a purpose-driven mindset and use a business to fulfill it, we're literally talking about changing the world. Like if every single person, like your purpose is different than mine, and the people that we work with have all these different purposes that they were made to fulfill or fix. And if they all start doing this, then literally the world is going to be changing. Everywhere you go, there'll be people that really have needed help for who knows how long, years, hundreds of years maybe, a problem has persisted, can end.
Uh-huh.
And I want to say literally overnight, but not necessarily, but quickly, so quickly.
Quicker than you think.
Yeah.
The way that the speed that you can potentially scale at is quicker than you think. But every business is different. Every person is different, right? But to your point, it only takes one person. And a lot of the people that we work with are just individuals with an idea. They don't even have business experience, right? And it's interesting to me, we've talked about Dr. V on this. When he was in the corporate culture, he didn't want to change, right? And there's a stat. We talked about all these business stats about how powerful it is just for the bottom line, for what it actually does for a company. They did a study and they found that 95% of owners and CEOs know that having a purpose for your business is better for your business. But guess how many of these companies actually have a purpose behind them?
It's like 10, wasn't it?
10%, right? Think of how big that is.
Yeah, that gap is insane.
Everybody knows, and almost nobody is putting a purpose into their business, right? And I think some of that's just the corporate culture. Mm-hmm. If you go talk to a CEO who's answering to a board and you try and tell them, put a purpose in there, they won't do it. They're scared, right? They're scared, yeah. and the corporate culture is money is everything, mm-hmm. right? What I'm saying to you is money is everything. Money is the fuel that's going to solve what really matters. Money is the fuel that's going to give people the life they really want to have. Money is the fuel that's going to give you the life that you want to have. But the life you want to have is not the life that you're going to be living, building someone else's empire strictly for their desire for money. Yeah. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? Like money, I'm not saying money is nothing and ignore it. What I'm saying is use money as a tool like it's supposed to be, right? And actually use it for the things that are going to actually give you what you want to have. And people start thinking about things, and that's what they want to use their money for, right? That's just the inner human in all of us, right? We all want things, and that's not even bad. But if you're actually using money for what it's really meant to be for, to bless other people, things change and money compounds, mm-hmm. right? And that's what I love about what we do and why today is so exciting, our time, is because one person can do what used to take 1,000. Mm-hmm. With AI, with the right systems, with the right business, with the right purpose, you can do anything. Dr. V started with no money, no resources. All he did was, I know how to do a surgery and I'm going to start helping people. Mm-hmm. And he studied out how to figure it out, tried to model McDonald's. That just kind of tells you how little he knew about business. Mm-hmm. He just knew McDonald's could pump out 100 million hamburgers in a minute. And he wanted to do that exact same thing because he wanted to save millions of people from being blind. And with what we can show you and with working with other people like this, you can do the exact same thing for your purpose. It's a very incredible time where you don't have to be a big corporation or have big pockets to make a big impact.
And we have a Super Business Masterclass. It's free if anyone wants to take it. And it'll kind of walk you through this and the steps to start building your own super business. But it will change the world. And you can start today. You can literally start finding your purpose and start fulfilling it through a business today.
And when you actually do it, your life changes so much. Like, you will be so much happier, right? And that goes back to what you were saying at the very beginning, right? Is what may sound like a loss on the spreadsheet is actually the thing that will compound and help your life, your business, more than anything else. And it's not just a feel-good statement. It is a fact, and it is proven mathematically over and over and over again. So find your purpose, build a super business around it, and live the life that you've always wanted to have.
And I will say, it will not only bless you, but it will bless everyone around you. It'll bless your family. It'll bless those that you work with. It'll bless the people you're trying to help. Anyone that interacts with you, your business, your cause will be blessed.
Yeah, it creates a movement.
Yeah.
A movement instead of just, an obligation, which is what most people do for their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do it. Go build your super business and live with purpose.